I want to destigmatize sexual abuse in this country to the point where people can talk about it. So my intention here is not to trigger anybody. My intention is to say, I am somebody who was sexually abused, and use that. It's not a silver lining, but use that to give myself permission to go into therapy and to really do much more of mental health checks at times. So if I was starting to cry too much, or I was starting to get, a little bit too edgy, or late a lot, or just falling down, or then I would know that it was time to regroup.
Welcome to the UpliftHER Leadership Series, a segment on the Self-Care Goddess podcast, a special space where holistic self-care meets high performance and the feminine leads with grace, power, and purpose. This podcast is your pause in a productivity-driven world, a space to reset, regulate, and reconnect with feminine wisdom and visionary leadership. I'm your host, Rita Savoya, holistic nutritionist, trauma-informed breathwork coach, and founder of Breathwork Barista. Each week, you'll hear soul expanding stories and thought-provoking conversations with women leaders, founders, and change makers who are redefining success and what it means to lead with heart. These are the conversations we need to create the future we desire, rooted in self-care, integrity, and soul-aligned leadership. Breathe in your power, breathe out the overwhelm, and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Self-Care Goddess podcast. Today's guest, I'm so excited to introduce her, but before we do, as you know, on this podcast, we are going to walk the talk and just give ourselves a few minutes to just tune out the outer world and tune in. I invite you, if you are comfortable doing so and can, lowering your gaze or even closing your eyes to further go within. Just noticing your breaths flowing in and out of your body, perhaps inhaling through the nose a little slower and deeper than usual, and then out through the mouth with a sigh. Slowing down here for just a couple of minutes. Not thinking about what just happened and what you did or what's happening after, just giving yourself these sweet moments of being present right here, right now, by following those inhales, expanding the body, opening yourself up, and then exhaling, letting go. I now invite you to do a quick scan and see if there are any areas of your body that might be feeling some tension or stiffness. I invite you to channel the exhales to those areas, allowing the exhales to soften, relax, relieve some of that tension with those exhales. On your next inhale, I invite you to flow those inhales and exhales into the area of the heart, energizing this beautiful organ that's keeping you alive. And as you continue this heart-focused breathing, I invite you to visualize someone that you're grateful for today. Visualizing them as if they were right here in front of you. I invite you to send them all the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation for being in your life. And now let's turn the attention onto you and give yourself some love, some gratitude, and appreciation for being here, taking some time out. Sending yourself some love, feeling your heart expanding. On your next inhale, I invite you to flutter your eyes open and come back to us. Thank you for participating in that quick coherence technique from the Heart Math Institute, just to get us into coherence with your mind, body, and heart. So welcome to another episode of the Uplift Her Leadership Series. It's a special leadership segment of the Self-Care Goddess podcast where we speak to high-performing women and they share their wisdom, their lessons, and stories to really inspire the next generation of leaders. So today's guest is a powerhouse of both wisdom and wellness, literally. Theresa is the founder of Wisdom of Wellness, a certified NYS women business enterprise, and also runs her own legal practice with a career that spanned from partner at an international law firm to deeply meaningful guardianship work in her local community. Theresa blends fierce intellect with deep heart. She chairs 2 chapters of the Women Presidents Organization, mentoring high achieving women and leading powerful conversations around success, growth, and leadership. She also offers leadership training and coaching for attorneys and entrepreneurs ready to truly thrive. During the pandemic, Theresa didn't slow down. She created a 90-day immersion experience to help people learn and unlearn about systemic racism. That's just who she is, someone who leads with purpose and isn't afraid to dig deep. Now, for a few things you might not expect, she finds hearts in nature. Yes, real hearts in leaves, rocks, you name it. And her idea of indulgence, flying high above the clouds to visit her grown kids or granddaughters, because for her, flying represents freedom, clarity, and a little bit of magic. Theresa, welcome to the show. I am so excited to
Thank
dive in
you.
with you today. How are you?
I am good and honored to be here. It's really a
Thank you.
privilege. Thank you.
Thank you for being here and taking the time to share your journey and your
Mm,
story. And it's interesting you say hearts because that's mine. And we're just talking very briefly off air that when I asked the universe, "What are my signs?" and I didn't get an answer, but a couple of maybe months later, I just kept seeing hearts everywhere. I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess hearts are my signs." So it's interesting. You look for hearts in
yeah.
nature. Yeah. Any memorable ones that you found?
Um, so memorable was Valley of Fire, which is a state park in Nevada out west, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, huge rock formations. And literally out of one of them was you have to tilt your head a little bit. You can't look straight. And there was a huge heart. So that
Wow.
was the most surprising one.
Yes.
I do find them, in rocks, and then as you were saying, when concrete kind of like pops up and stuff, there's sometimes heart shapes, and then leaves,
Mm-hmm.
various
Yeah.
leaves from the area I am in upstate New York have
Yes.
heart
And
shapes.
and
So
and,
it's
and
very
tell me
cool.
when you tell people this, do they look at you weird? Do they see it as well? What do you what's your
Well, I
feedback?
have to give somebody else credit. So somebody else, a businesswoman, mentioned it years ago to me that she looks for hearts in nature, and it kind of slipped off my radar, and then it came back years later. So, no, I think people appreciate it as kind of like just a lightheartedness way of being
Mm.
present instead of being so heavy,
Yeah,
just
it
to
is.
bring
It's
up the
true.
energy. Yeah.
It's truly uplifting. You know, another thing I see as well is smiley faces in my coffee. It's I have to like send you some pictures. I'm just like, it's smiling at me. Sometimes it's winking at me. It's got like one eye.
Oh.
So it's so cool. Yes. I'm like, how can you be mad in a world when your coffee smiles at you?
Yeah. You can see hearts and clouds too. If you
Yes.
look up, the clouds make heart shapes at times.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
haven't
Yes.
looked for winky faces, but that's a good one.
So tell us a little more about your amazing journey and what's influenced the mission that you're on today.
So what has influenced? I'm
Mm,
one of six children, the youngest. I have four sisters. My brother died at birth, so I was influenced very much by a household run by women when my father was not home, and then a different dynamic when my father was home. So I from early on, I saw how women could thrive together um, when there wasn't so much potential masculine energy in the room. And I think
mm,
that does tie into how I ended up somehow with the Women's Presidents Organization, which is women highly successful, mentoring each other with bringing in a very trusted environment, bringing business dilemmas to the table. So I think that kind of confidence and confidentiality is a beautiful mix if we can support each other in that. Not always the easiest, but that's so. So my journey, gosh, it's been filled with lots of blessings, and some very clear failures at times. We all have those. Um, and people talk about resilience or what doesn't kill you make you stronger. I hate those phrases. I really find them not very helpful. I like to use the word tenacious, that we can be tenacious. And as I got older, I gave myself and others more grace and embraced dignity. Doing things with grace and dignity
mhm,
became a sort of
mhm,
part of my journey.
Beautiful. Well, so much to
Yeah.
unpack there, and I want to ask so many questions. So, um, tell me, well, how do you define tenacious then? Tenacity.
Ooh, so it's a more fun word. Tenacious means you're a little feisty. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah. You've added some sass to
grit,
resilience.
yeah, sass, right? Yeah, some sass. Like, you're not gonna. We're not I'm not a wallflower. But you needed sass. So I was a trial attorney for a significant part of my legal career, and you needed to be tenacious. So
Yeah.
what does it mean? It means not, like you can wobble a little bit, but then you have to get back on track.
Get back. True, true. And let's talk a little bit more. I mean, I was going to ask this question a little later, but I mean, you brought it up, so let's talk about it now. Just in terms of this masculine energy. So there's been,
Mm,
I wasn't really looking for a theme for this special leadership segment, but it keeps coming up, and it's just like, wow. I think there's something here that we can totally uncover and discuss, that women that are high performing and very demanding roles, there's something that can be addressed, or maybe we can begin talking about it even a little bit more, is that yes, we really need to be in our masculine energy. And, we need both. We need feminine and masculine. And I also, when I was living in Dubai, when I had my own consulting in
mhm,
Dubai business, I felt like I was dressing more masculine, I was acting more masculine, and to just get more respect, to win those
yeah.
proposals, to get those clients. And it wasn't, and I didn't even know I was doing that. I was just doing it because it was working. But when I came back to Toronto and I had to, take care of my mom, so went back to school, learned about holistic wellness, I felt at home. I don't even know how to explain it. I just felt at
Mm,
home, not physically, just in my body, in my heart, in my mind. And it was because I was embracing more of that nurturing, that feminine energy, or maybe I was balancing it more. So, and then that's it. I never even really thought of it until this series. So it's so interesting. Tell me a little bit more about what you think of this.
so I was in a very male
Mm,
dominated track in the law. And oftentimes, I was the only female attorney. More female
mm,
judges came on the bench over the course of my career. More women came into trial practice, but it's a hard area
mm,
for women, especially depending on what your home life situation is and your desire to have a family. So, you put on the uniform and you
mm,
grow comfortable in the uniform. And there's nothing wrong with having a uniform for this aspect of your life and another uniform for another aspect. So, as I evolved personally
mm,
in my own growth and eventually decided not to continue at this high level of trial work, I really sat down and spent time envisioning with a pen and paper, you know, everything about what my new office would look like. I had an office overlooking the river, and now I was moving in 2015 to an office in my house, overlooking my backyard. And I really wanted to be comfortable with not losing the wardrobe that I had because I liked my wardrobe, but also being able to be in yoga clothes some of the time. Yeah, I never quite went to the pajama situation that people did in COVID, or wearing their pajama pants and still having a shirt and
Right,
and
right.
and jewelry on. I never did that. But I really thought about, can I do my legal work in a more comfortable, feminine way that allows me to switch out of this higher, more masculine role to be more comfortable in my own skin. And I enjoyed it. I mean, so some days I literally wanted to keep that wardrobe and put it on and go to court. And some days I really wanted to stay in my yoga clothes and sit at my desk and do a couple hours and then go for a walk.
Mhm.
So you bring up in your questions later on, because you graciously shared some of them with me in advance. Thank you. The word balance. And
Yes.
it's also part of that. It ties into the balance part of who we wish to be, how we wish to be. Um, for me, the masculine energy, you know, and the feminine gave me the ability to be tenacious. I don't want to get, but I didn't want to be an angry female all the time.
Yes.
I was arguing, as a trial
Hmm.
attorney, you're arguing motions, you're arguing client's position, but I didn't want to myself end up with that anger
Hmm.
inside. So I had to sometimes nourish the more feminine side of myself.
How did you do that? I'm curious. I mean, I was in labor relations. I don't know if I told you this, but
No,
my master's was in labor
uh,
relations. And then I was like, oh, there is just too much litigation here going on. I think I want to
yeah.
like, and then I gravitated more towards human resource management. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when I developed my career in HR. And so I was like, this is a little more amicable. I don't need to be.
Maybe. Not
Yeah, I
always
know.
there.
It's true. It's so true. So how did you do that? How did you make sure that you left that, anger or litigation at work and not bring it into the home?
um,
Did you have
so
any techniques?
you had to be intentional about it, right? You have to be intent.
Yes. I
And
love that.
I felt very blessed, grateful to have three children. And over the course of my career, I became a single mom. So they were great teachers in forcing you to go from really dressing in one outfit and then very quickly being able to throw on sweats and get dinner on the table. Um, so that ability to switch gears and bring myself down to focusing on what was right in front of me, um, it was just training. I mean, it was life training that I went through, but it was an intention to not um, bring some of the stuff that I was finding angst with
Mm-hmm.
into the home. Now, it didn't mean that I didn't get back up at 11 o'clock and look at deposition transcripts when everybody
Mm-hmm.
was already in bed, but I tried very much, as much as I could during those years, to be present for my
Mm-hmm.
children in whatever way I could.
Right, right. And so do you believe everyone can do this, or is it a certain personality, or there needs to be some sort of motivation behind it? Do you feel like we can all do this?
I think we can. I think, if I can do it, you can do it, that type of phrase. We're all evolving. It's just, what are your intentions? And, you know, my youngest son, we spent a lot of time in the car together at times, and I would go over fact patterns with him, like my trials, and say, what do you think? Because he was a great juror. A
Yeah,
12, 13-year-old would give me different perspectives on
that's
my
true.
points of law, and it was fascinating. So I did bring it home, but in a playful way. I tried
Right,
to keep it in a playful way.
right, right.
Um, I also had a lot of therapy. So let's just say I had to dump a lot of my angst and
Mm-hmm.
anger and sadness. Um, because again, I didn't want the troubles in my journey
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible, not always possible, to become the troubles of my children.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's very vulnerable of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So do you find that now it's changing a little, this whole like us women having to almost like wear, like, you're saying the suit, I say a mask, this more sort of masculine mask, given that there are these amazing organizations like the WPO really
Yeah.
helping women embrace balance both energies. Do you think it's changing? Or we still
I
have a
do
long
think it's
way?
changing. Do we have a long way to go? Yes, but I do think it's changing. What's a long, there's not equity, there's not pay equity. We know all these things.
Mm-hmm.
There's injustice, there's systemic issues in our um, capitalistic society. But I do think women are able to be more accepted in the industry. And I had a lot of opportunities. I don't want you to get it wrong. I had things in the 80s. It was kind of a breakthrough in how men were treating women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of progressiveness. I worked from home part of the time with a law firm in New York City, unrelated to COVID or anything like that. This was back in the late 80s, early 90s. As long as I carried my caseload, that was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I, I think the world is evolving. I I still think you need armor at times
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
garner the respect,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not everything, but the reality is men who are in powerful positions and you're trying to get a seat at the table in a power, and that word power I'm using very broadly, but to even be at the table, they're just not going to perceive us. And these are my thoughts on it, my experience, if I wore a flowery dress.
Mm.
Now, do I like flowery dresses? And your dress is absolutely stunning and perfect for this. But there is,
Mm-hmm. The
to be a
reality.
part,
Yeah.
the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
And on behalf of my clients, I had to fulfill a role. It wasn't about me and what I'd like to be wearing and how I'd like to wear my hair. It was about my clients
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and serving them in the best way. So I just wanted to be the background. When you put a client or an expert on the stand, you want to be the background of it.
Not the
You want the
center of
jurors to
attention.
look at. So, you didn't wear a lot of heavy jewelry and all that because you want to blip. I was just there to ask the questions and get the jurors to follow that person.
Right, right.
So it was
So
very much a technique
yeah, and this
to
is
serve
where
my
I
clients.
love that. No, thanks, Teresa. That's really helpful because that brings a different perspective too. Because then, if as a woman, you're not willing to do that, or maybe to secure that armor, as you mentioned, that's awesome. By the way, I love that analogy. Maybe this industry is not for you, right? And that's kind of where my HR career hat
Yeah,
comes back in,
yeah,
career development hat. Maybe maybe you need to be somewhere where it's a lot more accepted to be wearing flowery dresses, right? And
yeah.
yeah, instead of other things. So sometimes it's also the industry that you choose and not trying to change the industry so much. It's
Correct. The industry is the industry.
mm-hmm,
The clients need somebody who's going to look the part,
mm-hmm,
whatever that
mm-hmm.
part. And I already didn't look the part because I was a female. So, did I have clients say to me, "Are you really my trial attorney?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Yes, yeah."
Yeah.
And I
Mm.
had other people in the courtroom ask me, all the time, "Are you the court officer?" And I'd say, "No."
Yeah. 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 I've had that too. I've had when I went to meetings, they would shake my associate who was a male's hand, like the client, prospective client and not mine. They thought that it was his company and I was assisting him. And I
Now,
found out very quickly ahead of time of some of the client meetings. And then so I would bring him I would actually ask him to lead the meeting. So, and then I would tell them, by the way, once I won the contract, I am the owner of the company. Playing their game,
which,
right?
is you play into the cards you're dealt. These are,
Exactly.
Would it be wonderful if everybody could do everything? But that's not the world we live in. But it has gotten a lot nicer as I've evolved, and the
Hmm.
groups I'm in now, where you get
Right.
hugged a lot more. Men,
Right.
men that I know we hug. And
Yeah.
I would have never had that earlier on in my career.
Right.
That's a kind of, I don't know where that has evolved from. Some people say it's post-pandemic with people just wanting to hug and stuff. I'm
Hmm.
not sure,
Okay. So
but
this
it's a
was
nice.
I mean, post-COVID, the hugging is happening.
I think so.
Interesting. Because
I think so.
In Italy, France, there's always kissing
Oh, sure.
involved, right? Even
Right.
in business relationships, always, which I found a little awkward too, because I grew up in Canada. But when I did some work with
Yeah.
some Italian companies, I was like, okay, I guess I'm kissing you. But yeah, the hugging, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay,
But it's
I
got to
like
be
that.
where you're comfortable.
Of course,
Right.
yes,
Right.
of
That's the thing,
course.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's it, and it
So
definitely depends on the circumstance, the social
yes, but I
circumstances.
like that. We're moving towards a little more, yes. So the males are embracing their feminine energy, which is great. Which is
Yeah,
great.
I think so. I
Yes,
think
because it
so.
has to come from both sides too.
Sides,
So
absolutely.
let me ask you this question then. Do you believe in work-life balance? Is that such? Yes, exactly. Is there such a thing? Is the, this word balance gets used a lot when it comes to work.
Um, so there's a couple words that kind of set me off, and balance is one of them because I always felt like I was failing at finding balance.
Mm,
And then somewhere along the line, and I'm sure it was somebody else said it first, but I started embracing imbalance in life.
mm.
So I have an image and do a presentation with spinny plates. A woman in a beautiful outfit, blah blah blah. Her hair's curly like yours, but and then all these spinning plates, and you can't keep all the plates spinning at the same level of energy. It just like fit from a physics standpoint, right? So you give a little
Yes.
bit more spin over here, and this one slows down, and then you run over here and give this one a little bit more spin, and this one slows down. So that's where it's like the and I just use that as a visual because I like my trial exhibits. So the visual is yes, if this, and it's okay to give this plate more energy. It's okay to be in that realm right now if that's what needs to be, and then you slide off of this. So yeah, I don't like the word balance. I believe in, my mantra is embracing life imbalances. And I would
Mm,
go as far to say with grace and dignity.
yes.
That's
I love
how
that.
I give myself permission to not fall into that guilt, that
Yes.
female role of being guilty, because life to me, again, from my experience, has been a series of unbalanced moments.
Yeah, I love that. I love the analogy as well. And it just makes you human. So it's more, and yeah, I've received this feedback from a lot of my clients too. It's more about prioritizing now. It's not about balancing. It's prioritizing
Mhm.
what's important to me right now. And especially a high-performing woman. If tonight you can't make that recital, it's okay. You're prioritizing something else. Tomorrow or next week, you'll prioritize the recital. So it's finding that balance, right? Or oops, did I? It's finding the prioritizing those activities. So then, yeah, maybe you can somehow reach whatever it is that makes you not feel guilty. Let's talk about guilt for a little bit
Mhm.
because I say too, I fall about into this trap as well. Why is it so easy for women to feel guilty? What is up with that? What do you think?
I, I'm not a theologian, but um, a lot of religions certainly
Mm-hmm,
uh, repress women and don't treat them equally either. There's not a, and we're taught to feel guilty if we want to be treated. It's just so much unconscious bias that goes on in our world. So what's up? I am trying my best to eliminate the word guilty from my language. So I use the word, you asked me what's my guilty pleasure, and I actually said uh, I'm changing that word to indulgent.
Yeah.
because I think the words we tell ourselves,
Yes.
this is where the mindset and how we speak to ourselves matters so much for our own sanity on
Hmm.
a daily basis.
I agree.
So,
I agree. And I'm going to change that question now. Thank you.
where does it come from? Why it's there? Why do women experience it?
Mm,
At some points, the why doesn't matter. It is there. So, how do we best function around it?
yes. So you catch
That's what I'd
yourself,
like to
when you
focus
catch
on.
yourself, what do you do? Like, what's your technique? I'm interested. I'm curious. Is it a thought when you have that guilty thought?
Always a complete sentence. I say no a lot more. Um, are you freezing or am I freezing a
Oh,
little
I'm
bit?
sorry. Yes, I think it's me. Sorry if
Okay.
you want.
Okay. I just heard from a fascinating author
Oh,
about
I'm
talking to
sorry.
yourself in the
Oh,
third person.
I'm sorry, Teresa, you cut out. And
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but it is my internet that's unstable, it looks like. I think it's back on. So yes,
Okay. Because
we
mine
can
stayed pretty
start
good.
with, yes,
All
we
right.
can start with
So
it.
I was listening to a fascinating author about talking to yourself in the third person. Like instead of say, I shouldn't do that, or I should be, say, maybe Theresa shouldn't do that. It's really quirky, but it's really funny. It's like, so I think it takes away some of the harshness to like label yourself. I mean, I've labeled my gremlins inside my body, our different parts of our personalities. Again, I've gone through a lot of different therapeutic modalities over the years to not let my gremlins from the
Mm-hmm.
past
Mm-hmm.
take over my future and present. Um, so I'm a big proponent of getting help from the outside and then continuing to learn and be curious. So those techniques to stop the ticker tape, that
Mm-hmm.
pause, to find that pause,
Mm-hmm.
um, to take that deep breath, to take that walk outside, to look at the horizon. You can even just wiggle your toes. These are all techniques to stop the brain from defaulting to negative.
Mm-hmm. And feeling that guilt or even
Yeah,
thinking about it.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. I did some muscle testing and the word should, I was like, oh, and it's true when
Mm.
when somebody says, well, you should, I just like, oh, cringe. So I try not to use that word in my vocab either. But I love that, putting yourself in third person. Okay, because that makes it light and fun too.
Well, then you're having a silly sort of conversation inside your head instead of this, um,
Hmm.
harsher voice.
Yes,
So I'm
yes.
just experimenting with it. Literally, I'm just and I just sat with somebody else
Hmm.
trying to help her get um, at a higher level to deal
Hmm.
with some challenging issues in her life, and I just asked her if she'd like to play with the third person. And it's funny, I could see her mind going right there, and all of a sudden she started smiling and laughing. So if you can get that from people, there's just
Yes.
some levity to situations.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I just find life is so serious, even in the healing
Yeah.
world. It doesn't have to always be so serious. We can make fun of ourselves and make light of things because
Right,
they all
right.
pass anyway, and we all survive
Yeah,
the
and it's a
situ-
different version of, you wouldn't talk to a friend that way. How come you talk to yourself that way?
Yes.
So then actually label the friend as your first name and then
Yeah,
see what happens.
exactly. Yeah. It'll be so, so different, very different conversation. So you mentioned it briefly about having some challenges and
Mhm.
setbacks. So if you want to share maybe a pivotal moment in your career when you faced a major challenge and how did you overcome it?
Which pivotal moment did I write down? Uh, so I want to destigmatize sexual abuse in this country to the point where people can talk about it. So my
Mm,
intention here is not to trigger anybody. My intention is to say I am somebody who was sexually abused and um, use that. I wouldn't, it's not a silver lining, but use that to give myself permission to go into therapy and to
Mm,
um, really do much more of mental health checks at times. So if I was starting to cry too much, or I was starting to get, a little bit too edgy, or late a lot, or just falling down, or then I would know that it was time to regroup. So that was, you know, managing that as going forward as an adult was something that was pivotal in my life. Certainly, you know, uh, getting divorced was very
mm,
pivotal in my life and how I wanted to be in that. Um, and it takes a long time for people to get. For me, I was married 22 years,
mm,
and with my former husband, a total of 26 years. So with 3 children and well, so it just like allowing yourself to get up every day, put your feet on the floor, um, recognizing that depression is real, recognizing
mm,
that, you know, a lack of sleep happens. It's not something you wish for yourself. Everybody's like, oh, just get more sleep. Oh, sometimes it's just not that easy to get more sleep. So how do you survive these moments to the best that you can be? And it's moment by moment some days and step by step. And somehow there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And one day you'll sit back and say, oh my gosh, here I am, you know? But
mm.
when you're in it, it's hard stuff when you're in these chaotic
Right.
moments in life, challenges in life. Um, how do you, there's no one way. It's
Mm,
just
mhm. What works for
there's
you?
just like if I think you talk about it on some of your other podcasts, there's not one answer to, you know, mental health or being well. You might try different modalities at the
Yep.
same time in order to get a result that puts you in a
Mhm.
better place.
And
That's
then
all
also, yes,
yeah,
100%. And even with wellness, what worked before doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work now,
right.
even in terms of what's going on in your life. So I feel, yes, navigating these challenges, there are multiple ways to address them and overcome them. But if you had to say, what is that sort of one thing that really kept you grounded during these challenging times? Is there something?
Yeah, my children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was very um,
Mm-hmm.
blessed to have children. I wasn't sure I'd be able to have children because of my negative mindset.
Mm, right, right.
And then I was very conscious of how do you raise children with the kind of background, you know.
And career,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, and these are the things that are way, 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 way back here in the mind. They're not up. They're not talking about them on a daily basis to anybody whatsoever,
right.
except maybe your therapist. um, but surviving those things and having your tribe around you,
Yes.
really, as you evolve, like the tribe that worked in this stage does not necessarily work in this stage. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot coming out very recently. And maybe it's just like, like you started seeing hearts when you were looking
Mm-hmm.
for your sign. I've also started hearing a lot about adult relationships,
Mm,
friendships, like adult friendships. Not sexual relationships, but the
mm-hmm.
importance of adult friendships because of loneliness being the number one.
Right.
They call it the health crisis, mental health and physical health
Mm-hmm.
crisis in the US. I don't know for Canada or for other countries or for the world, but it is an epidemic
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
loneliness. And how do you cultivate adult friendships?
Mm.
Because what worked as children does not work as an adult. And that's a fascinating conversation too for another day. But
Yeah,
that's what
I
I mean.
love
You
that.
got, that Ted Lasso, remain curious, not judgmental.
Yes.
Is a
Oh.
great phrase.
So that series was full of them. It was just so beautiful. I'm like, why can't they come out with another season? Thank you,
There was a
Teresa.
lot packed in there.
So much. I was like taking notes at some point. I'm like, I love that. I could use this totally in my coaching. Thank you for that. That was very, very beautiful. I'm going to ask you this because I feel comfortable doing so. And I know
Yeah.
you like to dig deep as well. So when these traumatic moments happen to us or these unfortunate moments, there's the saying that everything happens for you. What are your thoughts on that? Can you explain that? Like, does it happen for you? Like, what's happening there? Or is it one of these
I think there's
phrases
life's
that
lessons. I don't know if they're for you. I mean, there's tragedy in life. There's significant tragedies, much worse than I've gone through. And life is random and life is hard. And some things that people go through are just horrific. Heart- So I think you can only do what you can do to be the best person you can be. And how do
mm,
you get there? How do you take each day knowing that there's horrific tragedies in the world? And I would love to save the world. I would be one. How do you, knowing you can't save the world, right? Can you save what? How do you be present in this world? And you ask, maybe you'll ask later on about your legacy in this world. How do you have a legacy in this world when there's so much work to do, so much heartache, really heartache? So what can you do? You can try and show up every day to say, I care about people. I love people. I um, I do this other little trick for every person I interact with in public who is serving me.
mhm,
So you go to Target, you go to the grocery store, you go to um, the coffee shop, and you say to the person who's at the register, "Thank you for being here."
mm. That's beautiful. Acknowledging them, seeing them. Mhm.
So I don't know
What
if
do
that
they
helps
say?
with your question. They
What
say so.
are they
Most
shocked?
people they are shocked. They are shocked. They're like, so some people are like, what did you just say? And then other people are literally like, I've never had somebody say that to me.
Oh.
And then other people are like, oh, thank you. And then you get the snippy ones who are like, well, I have to be here. This is my
Yeah.
job. And we're like, okay, but you had a choice to still show up and you're still here serving me packing bags or serving meal
Hmm.
or making my coffee, whatever it is. Doesn't mean I'm going to tip you for packing my bag. It's a, but there's just ways to create more of a human connection.
Yes. I totally agree with that. Yes, I so agree. So the blue zones, the number one, yes, they live on amazing
Mm,
islands. They have access to amazing food, but the number one trait that they have all in common is that the social interaction. It's being, nice to each other and socially interacting with each other. That's a huge sign not only of mental health or protecting your mental health or supporting it, but also longevity. If you want to live a healthy and long life, it's yes, be nice to people.
So yes, life is a great teacher. I wish some lessons didn't have to be taught in this world, like
Yeah.
how to survive
Mm-hmm.
the death of a child. I mean, how do you,
Mm-hmm.
those type of really gut wrenching or
Yes, it's true.
things like
So
this.
thank you for that. So you've been busy and you still are. Have you experienced burnout before? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Yes, I've experienced burnout. I don't think I looked at it like, oh God, this is burnout.
Yeah. What are some of the warning
I,
signs, by the way, that maybe we can share?
burnout also goes into values. I've worked in um, environments that were high pressured and not necessarily aligned with my values. So I think it was a combination of, am I burning
Mm,
out from this job? Am I not comfortable in this job? Is it not aligned with me? Are the people I'm working around people I didn't respect at times because of
mhm,
their actions?
mhm.
So
I like that. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with changing positions if it was, they use the word toxic. What's toxic for one person or what are
Mhm,
levels of toxicity? Could just and I just found that um, if it wasn't aligned with who I wanted to be, if I was crying too much, if I was cursing, I had a cursing, I don't have a problem saying, certain curse words, but when I was like saying them a lot in one day, I'd have to say, this is not who I wish to be.
Right, right. I love that. No one's ever really aligned burnout with values. That's it. This is really interesting. I like that because that's one of the first exercises that I do with my clients is, okay, what are your values? And you'd be surprised. I'm sure you're not, but there are a lot of people are just living life without any values. And for me, it's been my guiding light, my compass. So anything that I do, I always run it by my values. And that's why I've lived a pretty decent, very happy life, is because if it's not in line, sorry, you got to go, including ex-boyfriends and
Yeah.
ex-fiancés too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't think you and I know the language of values, but people don't always talk like that. And before I got more into the executive coaching realm, I didn't ever understand the concept of strengths. What are your strengths?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And strengths in the executive coaching and potentially therapeutic realms is very different from your strengths in a career.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that Maya Angelou quote: "When you know more, you do better."
Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
butchering
yeah,
it a little bit, but
paraphrasing.
yeah, but when you know more, you do more. When you become more aware of things, you
Yes.
you embrace them. So I didn't have burnout. Yes, happens. You get really exhausted. You get really grumpy. I said no to a lot of stuff that I would have liked to do at times in my life. That fear of missing something. I just couldn't be everywhere that I wanted to be, and so you make choices
Mm-hmm.
that are aligned. You call it priorities, you call it your values.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
I've simplified my life massively because
Mm.
that's what works for me.
How so?
I so I've sold houses. I um, embracing a more nomadic life
Mm. Nice.
by choice.
Yeah.
I've donated an
Mm.
awful lot of clothes that theory, you can bring one thing in and take three out, because
Mm-hmm.
I've been, again, in a privileged life, I have a lot, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't serve me as much now,
Mm.
to have all these
Right.
things. So I like
Mm-hmm.
to be very conscious about letting somebody else repurpose something. This is better served if somebody else is able to use it.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
So you
Almost,
try and do, the greater good at any moment in time with what you can do.
yeah, because it's not coming with you. That's for sure.
Nope.
And it's a lot of things to dust. So I'm
A
trying
lot
to
of
be.
things to dust. I switched in from trial work to the trust and estates realm and
Mm-hmm.
guardianships with disabled people, elderly people.
Mm.
And that has been, I wanted to find out more about um, where the money goes in this country and how it goes. And well, one of my mother's favorite phrases when we were growing up: "You don't have a trust fund." I didn't even know what she was talking about. Like, and I don't think she knew anybody who had a trust fund either, but she knew there was different. So I was like, okay, who does have a trust fund? What are trust funds? What is this
Mm-hmm.
all about? And how can I be in that realm? So again, because the law is a very interesting profession that you can um, do different things with. Some people are afraid to, so they feel they get pigeonholed into this area of the law, and that's what I have to do for the rest of my life.
Mm.
No, the law is always evolving. So as long as you surround yourself with people who know more than you,
Mm-hmm.
which is always a great way to live life anyway,
Yes.
play
That's
up
how
in a
you get
tennis
better
match.
too, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
You want to play
Right.
someone
So
who's
it's
better
fun.
than
They know
you.
more and they want to tell you how much they know. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll be
Yeah.
your student for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think those things
Mm-hmm.
would help you
Mm-hmm.
along.
Yes, that's true. So as a high-performing woman,
Mhm.
what has been the biggest internal struggle that you faced on your journey, would you say? And I know we talked briefly about a few, but you had to choose one.
Um, I had wonderful male mentors in my life,
Hmm.
right? But then other factors stepped in, and it was almost like if you get too close to touching the sun, that Greek parable. So, in my experience, unfortunately, there were people nipping at my heels
Mhm.
at
Mhm.
times. You know, I had great opportunities and given a lot of freedom to create and succeed, but um, there wasn't always a give and take in management in the law that I would have liked to see.
Mhm.
Um, and also, my mother was a very wise woman, but she literally said, you know, my former husband and I were good to a point, but the more I kept and I don't know whether this is true, this was my mother's perception, but that, you know, it's very hard. There are men out there who are really supportive and can handle a woman who succeeds, and whatever that definition is.
Mhm.
There are
Mhm.
very special men. I've seen friends be married to
Mhm.
them, a lot of
Mhm.
second marriages, a lot not, or second relationships. That isn't always the ones from early on. But to have that type of support to flourish
Mhm.
is very helpful. It wasn't always my experience to have that kind of support to
Mhm.
flourish.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
definitely, yes, there are definitely. I've seen it firsthand as well. It's interesting you say second relationship or second marriage. My sister and I play this game every time we see this really happy couple or we meet. We're like, second marriage, second relationship. They're a little
And maybe that's
older.
what we all have to grow through, you
Yeah,
know. So
that's
life is
true.
that great lesson. It's
Exactly.
just as much my growth and what expectations I had and how did I know, you know. When you
Right?
know better, you do better. That's my end goal.
Ah, yes. That's it. It came back. I love it. So, how do you reset and charge and recharge? Sorry, I know we talked a little bit about this too, but maybe do you have self-care rituals that you do or habits
Mhm.
that you do? We can maybe do
Yeah.
talk about your top three.
Um, my top three are being around my children and granddaughters. I find great joy even when there's tension and stuff, but it's just I'm
Part of
at a different spot in my life.
mm,
Like, I just am so in a state of gratitude a lot and
mm,
awe, you
mhm,
know. And I talk to my friends now. Adult children are fun. Like, you know, it's fun to raise, but adult children can be really interesting human beings. And I'm a big one-on-one person. I don't always do well. I can do groups, but I like the one-on-one. Um, I love going out in nature. I do. I
mhm,
listened to a recent webinar about John Muir, and he didn't call it taking a hike. He asked people to embrace sauntering through the woods
mm,
instead of hiking through the woods. So I'm now sauntering more. I
mm,
love to chase waterfalls
mm.
or take a walk on the beach, depending on, you know, what environment I'm on. So water is a very resetting, you
Yeah,
know, and I don't know the science behind the negative ions that come out of water because I don't
yeah.
have a science background, but I know it's
Mhm.
there and I know what it feels like when you're there, right?
Especially after a rainfall. I used to hate
Mm.
rain and now I
Oh,
really embraced it. Yes, because my hair, I
oh.
was like, oh, just gets so frizzy after a rainfall. But now I'm just out there right after and it just
Oh.
smells so nice and I can feel myself re-energizing. So I'm just like, is it gonna rain? Is it gonna rain? So I can just go out for a walk right after, even during too. It's really,
Yeah.
really amazing. Yes, I love
So,
that.
you said I love, I mean, I'm a big reader and I
Hmm.
do listen to podcasts. It took me a long time to get to audiobooks because I thought that was for old people and I didn't want to be old. Now I don't care and I love audiobooks.
Right, right, right. That's awesome. Yes. Oh, and going back to the forest bathing as well.
Mm.
It's, Japan doctors have been prescribing it for years now. So I hope our doctors jump on board with that too. And they
And again,
recommend it.
because people don't understand the words, like forest
Hmm.
bathing meant to some people, you're going to get naked in the forest. No, I do not get naked in the forest. I do not sit on pine needles and get pitched. But there's a way to, to embrace the sense of nature using all your, five
Mm,
senses, your sixth sense, whatever. Then when
yes.
you get out in nature, it's more um,
Hmm.
intuitive to be calmer
Hmm. Yeah,
and
exactly.
appreciative. Um, looking out at the horizon is a great
Mm.
reset on
Hmm.
a spur of the moment
Hmm.
basis.
Yes, so true, so beautiful. Actually, oftentimes I tell my clients that they're so, okay, what do I do for sleep? Like, what should be my bedtime routine? And I was like,
Mm,
I think it's even more important what your morning routine is. So if you can get out there and just look at those
yeah,
first few rays of sun without your sunglasses, and then you just set that
I know.
circadian rhythm so that you can really thrive throughout the day. And then again, sunset is really powerful as well, because then it tells your body, okay, time to slow down, almost shut down for sleep. So it's just as important your morning routine as your bedtime routine. So yeah, I just love staring at sunsets. I like sunrises too, but sunsets are just the colors are just so beautiful.
Mm.
Mm,
So I don't live by a checkoff list, like this is my morning
yeah,
routine, do these five things. I just naturally do certain things
yeah.
that I'm at a stage that are more aligned with staying well.
Uh-huh. Beautiful. Yeah.
And what I
Yeah.
do one day may not be the same. So I forget to meditate all the time. I'm supposed to be meditating every day and then I forget. Then I'm like, I listen to your meditation. I'm like, okay, you were supposed to. So it would be wonderful for me to tell you I get up every morning and, right away meditate. No, I make my coffee and I take the rescue dog out because she's staring me down. That's
You gotta go, or else, like, yeah. So that's why, Theresa, I tell my clients that breath work is a lot easier to do because you can actually do it while you're walking your dog. And you don't
right.
have to close your eyes or sit under a tree. You can literally do some breath holds as you're walking and the ins and outs. So it's just a lot easier to fit into your schedule
Yeah.
than meditation. So for me,
Right.
breath work was my gateway to
And
meditation.
if you've done any type of, strength training or boot camps or even yoga,
Mm-hmm.
breath work being part of it, like to
Mm-hmm.
just incorporate that back in so it's not so
Exactly.
scary and woo-woo to people.
Yes, exactly. Yes, 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 yes. And then they'll be like, oh, I actually feel better. It's like,
Mm.
let's see why.
Yeah.
So if you had a full day, and this is fun to just
Yeah.
imagine, to yourself with no responsibilities, how would you spend it?
So I would either chase a waterfall or walk along a beach.
Hmm.
I would read. I'd do a light touch. That's part of, I guess, what you call my daily routine, depending on the day. But I like to lightly touch people who may need just to know someone is out there
Oh.
caring about them.
Do you mean like a message or actually like
Yeah, it's
give
all
them a hug?
messaging. Yeah,
Okay, okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Although I've gotten better at using my own energy in different ways, but
Hmm.
it's it but that's evolving and that's for another conversation. But I so I it just fell into it, but I helped three different women at three different times over the course of like 3 years getting through breast cancer
Hmm.
treatments just by like lightly sending them a message each day to know that somebody can. And some of them were corny, some of them were random. It was just whatever I felt like sending. Um, but and then I stopped because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna end up with. I was like, I can't keep doing this. It was. I was very glad all three women did well and survived through it, but I got very concerned that what you keep thinking about, you take on into your own
Mm,
world. So I did
mhm.
consciously choose not to do that. I help other people with other health issues at certain times. But I didn't want to focus solely on being a breast cancer person. But anyway, with all three of those women who I knew kind of as acquaintances, and now it's years later, when I'm in their presence and they're in my presence, or we're in each other's presence, there's a different energy that goes between us. Like they know that I know that they let me be there for them. And they're very high achieving women, so they're not out there saying, "Oh, I'm a breast cancer, survivor," or whatever lingo they want, they're very successful women, but they let me participate in a time of need to assist them. And it brings a different relationship that I never thought I'd have with these three women.
Right.
Two of them especially.
That's a special bond for sure.
It is a special bond.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. That
Yeah.
is beautiful.
And it was just a random gift. I mean, I was just doing my random kind of crazy quirkiness, whatever you want to call it, and asked permission of them. I said, "Do you think this would help?"
Yeah.
And they said yes. So and I said, "Okay, I will do it for as long as you want it."
So you answered the calling, they accepted, and was well received.
And when one said, "Okay, I'm good, I'm done," within a month, another person came in.
Wow.
It was right. So I only did one at a time because I was like, "Oh, okay, this," and by the third, I was like, "Okay, this is getting a little."
Wow. And then the second one, when the third one came in, like it just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Manifesting is pretty powerful.
Yeah, that I just happened to be randomly having coffee with someone and all of a sudden they decided to share.
Right.
And they hadn't shared it yet with everybody. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think of this?
Exactly. And you knew what to do though. You're even more experienced in doing and sending these messages and supporting, right? Very, very interesting. I love that. So, Theresa, what's a piece of advice you'd give to high performing women who are struggling to find fulfillment?
So I'm going to give you in the language of the Women's Presidents Organization, we don't give advice. We say in our experience, this is because I can't tell you what to do. I can only say in my experience, this is what's helped me. That sort of goes along with you should, or this is my opinion. All right.
Agree.
So, with legal clients, I make recommendations because they want to know recommendations. And I do advise in that realm. But I'm very cautious in other realms to advise because I am an attorney and people see it's almost like you've been given a greater ability to be authoritarian, right? And I don't want to be an authoritarian person. I want to just be more loving and kinder to the world. So for high achieving women in my experience, so there's two things. There's a mantra that I use that's Om Namah Shivaya.
I love it.
But I've used that forever. And it's called I am the divine having an earthly experience. And it makes me laugh. Like if people are really like getting crazy, and people do, clients do, things are very tense, they have challenges, they want and then I just somehow at the end of a day can say that phrase, like, I am the divine having an earthly experience. It's kind of funny. I don't know if other people would find it funny, but that's one thing I would share with high achieving women. In my experience, it's helped. And then, just giving yourself a lot of grace and dignity. I love that those words came more into play, or it came more into play for me. They were always out there in some realms, but when I was transitioning under not such good terms out of the big international law firm, I kept saying to myself, let me do this with grace and dignity. Because it was a way for me to hold myself in check. Because that idea of you can only control who you can control, and people. So the situation was evolving in not the best scenario that you'd like. And so I just had to keep myself grounded in that. So that's two things that I'd like to share with anybody, but especially high achieving women. If you can have grace and dignity for yourself in different situations and for others, but that's a,
Yes.
yeah.
I love the term thriving gracefully.
Mm.
How do you define grace? How do you do that? How do you do it with dignity and grace? Is it self-compassion? Is it forgiveness? Is it
Um, so it's dignity to me is keeping your head held high. Create another phrase that the general counsel of the big firm used to use was, don't run with the roaches, fly with the eagles.
Mhm. Mm.
So when people are acting in a way that is not how I would act in a situation, you get judgmental. Like, why
Mhm.
aren't they talking this through? Why aren't we communicating? Why aren't we sitting around and instead, things are out of your control? At times in my experience, they were out of control. So the dignity part was more about keeping myself from not going low.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because there's certainly times when I could have gotten much more nasty and grittier. My
Yeah, of
mean streak, but I think all of us have the potential. How do you keep your mean
course.
streak in check?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So I needed to keep my means. So that was the dignity part, and and
Mhm.
and grace, giving each other grace, and yourself grace. That is compassion. It is forgiveness. It is letting go. It is, and I hate
Mm.
that phrase. Just let it go. Like, oh, if I could, tell me how I do that one.
Through your breath, Theresa, through your breath.
Through your breath.
Follow
But these
the
are all
exhale.
practices. So it's,
I'm-
that's why I say these are practices. Life is practice.
It's so
Permission to be
true.
human goes along with that. Grace and dignity,
Mm,
permission to be human. I love that
mm,
phrase.
yeah.
So, to be gentler and kinder with
Mm,
ourselves and
yeah.
others. But sometimes when you're in really challenging times, you can't be gentler and kinder.
Mm.
But you have to go home at night and be somehow kinder to yourself that you got through that day the best you could.
It does get easier though, and as you
Yes.
mentioned
Oh,
earlier, it's
absolutely.
the practice
Absolutely.
because now when I do, because even me, like I was very angry. I was a very spicy Southern Italian angry person. If you cut me off, Teresa, on the road before I did all this work, I would be chasing you down, and I'd want to see who this person is that just cut me off, and then I'd be like doing all kinds of things and saying all kinds of things. And to the point now, if I do that, I'm like, oh, I'm literally feeling sick. Like when I get angry or when I get, I don't know, when I guess I'm
Yeah.
triggered. And by the way, it's just my dad right now that triggers me to this point
Mm.
because everybody else, I feel like I'm able to control it. I literally feel sick. So it's just like, it is a practice. The more you do it,
It
like
is a
it just
practice.
easier it gets to, it's almost autopilot now that if somebody cuts me off, I'm like, okay, like whatever, they got somewhere to go, I'm
Yeah.
just not gonna
Yeah.
make my nervous system go crazy and my blood pressure go up because he doesn't even know I exist or they don't even know I
Right.
exist, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like it does get easier, but it's a
It
practice.
does
And
get a lot easier.
yeah,
That's the benefit of aging. Aging is a
yes,
privilege. I love
yes,
that it's a privilege. And
yes,
I get to now be in my preferment stage. I get to do a lot of what I prefer to do as opposed to have to or should or all those things.
yes.
So
It's beautiful.
it's really lovely to watch life evolve if you can
Hmm.
kind of stay at a higher level. Doesn't mean I don't go low sometimes because I do,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah, we're human, like you said, right? We're all human. We're not perfect. We're imperfect
mhm.
humans. So tell me about, is there a piece of advice that you would tell your younger self now that you know what you know and you're in this other stage of your
um, I would tell my younger self, I really consciously at one point in time uh, brought more zest into my life. Like
life?
it was just too dark, too serious to. So my younger self, it depends on how, I used to love picking flowers. And it brought great joy to just give flowers to anybody and everybody as a little kid. Wildflowers. Grew up in an area where we could run wild.
Wow,
Um,
nice.
so I think to keep that throughout, I kind of gave up some of the practices that brought me joy as a child. And now I can go back to it and see it on reflection.
Mm,
But to have been more joyful, it really and to know that you're going to make it, to tell your younger self you are going to make it, you are going to be okay, to not be as serious. But these are all phrases like, that letting go, don't be so serious, embrace more, joy in your, I don't know. So, I find authors, if I'm feeling too dark and I gift them to a lot of people, there's a great author, Ross Gay, the Book of Delights. And then he wrote the second book of Delights. And
mm-hmm,
now he just wrote recently, and it got published, Inspiring Joy. And these are just
mm.
his daily reflections on how to kind of just, we're raise raise up
Right. Nice,
instead of
nice.
being so dark all the time. So that I would say, have more of that in my life, have more
Mm,
poetry in my life, have more art in my life. To my younger self, I
yeah.
gave up, it's not
Mm-hmm.
uncommon, but you give up some of those more artistic
Yes.
aspects of life,
Right, right. And now you can reintroduce them and embrace them again.
rekindle them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that. It was a podcast, I believe I was listening to. Can't remember his name, but he was talking about a lot of people go through when they're about to retire in that stage when they're, just finishing up their careers because their life has been solely around performance. They have a really hard time when it's time to retire. But if you make it a more of a life of purpose, or even just
Yeah.
finding your purpose and making it more intentional, and the next it's going to be a lot easier to retire because then you still live out your purpose. You're not your life is not based on your performance anymore. It's based on what you want to do and how you want to show up in the world. And then the next question was asked, how do you find your purpose? And he said, go back to when you were a young child.
Mhm.
What is it that you loved to do? That's your purpose. So
Yeah.
I love that. If we can go back to early times, what really let your heart on fire, lit your heart on fire, and really you were happy about. Turn that into an adult thing that you could do or
So,
continue doing.
and because retirement has such a negative connotation attached to aging and
Mm-hmm,
stuff, and you're
mm-hmm,
put out to what I, I'm, I cringe at the word retirement because I'm not
mm-hmm,
retired. But anyway, even if I was retired, I would still cringe. And it's the word preferment, like
mm-hmm,
to
yeah,
be in this
mm-hmm,
kind of sweet spot.
mm-hmm, yeah.
And again, so many people age differently, but if you have a mindset of considering age as a privilege at any age,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, you
it
embrace him more. It's a
you
totally different,
embrace, yeah, yeah.
totally different mindset for sure. I mean, people ask, would you go back to your 20s? I'm like, hell no. Mm-mm.
Well,
Especially day right now, like with social media and stuff, forget it. I'm happy with the childhood I had, and I just look
hmm
forward with what's coming for me. So no, I would
right.
not.
But making peace with the past,
Yes.
inviting the future, and being, you know, grateful for the present, whatever there's ways
Yeah,
to look at it that
right.
just
Mm-hmm. For sure. So, if you could have lunch with any woman, past or
mm.
present, who would be invited? Who would be at the table and why?
So it would be Eleanor Roosevelt.
Ah, interesting. Someone else said that too. Okay, tell me why.
I don't know that much about her, but what I do know, I'm very intrigued. I
Yeah, she's badass.
She was bad, but she did it in a way, she
Yes.
knew she couldn't be president, and obviously was still struggling with women becoming presidents. Um, but she still garnered tremendous respect. She did have a president who was listening to her, so
Mm,
she had her own space. So if you go down to Franklin Roosevelt's house, she had her own cottage. Not that
mm,
that's good or bad. I'm not saying, and he was doing what he was doing. But she just always, she kept her head high and focused. And until I'd love to just meet her and be in her presence and find out more about her.
Yeah,
I
you're
think
right.
she's just got to be such an the time period she lived through.
And she was still able to make such great impact. It's
Yeah,
pretty
she had tremendous
impressive.
impact. Right?
Very impressive. Yes. It hasn't really happened again, has it? Not with the impact. Yeah, for sure.
Not with that type of impact.
Mm-hmm,
And again, he was disabled, but I don't know whether that made him more. That would be an interesting thing to ask too. Does she think, from her perspective, it made him more open to allowing her presence too?
Right. Like you were
But
saying
I
earlier,
think they
like
were also
supporting.
somehow related, like down the line. So anyway, I think she'd be a cool person.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I'd like to meet. I'd like to meet Nelson Mandela. Sure. Like, how did he? I
Yeah.
know somebody. Yeah.
Right. Yes, that's true. He's very interesting too. So looking back, now we touched on this too, but you might elaborate or maybe do something different. But I feel comfortable asking you, looking back at your journey and all that you've accomplished, are there any feelings of longing in any area of your life?
So which question was that? If I
Yeah.
on the
Um,
sheet.
I might have changed it, Teresa. I'm sorry, but I did send you
No, that's okay.
the updated
Um,
one. I feel we're having a
so
really deep
longing is
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, so when I read it in advance, I thought about it and I said, does that go along with regret? Is there a longing that you didn't fulfill, or regret that you didn't fulfill? And
I guess it's perspective, but it could, right? Yeah, if
do
you
I
look at it that way.
think things happen for a reason? Longing would mean that I could change the dynamic of certain things. My take on it. So would I long to not have um, sometimes see people hurt the way they ended up being hurt? Sure. Um, but I do think life happens the way, you know, we control ourselves, not the randomness of life sometimes and other people's actions. Right? So I don't long to change anything. I used to think I really, because my parents said no, and then I always said, well, I should, that I should have been a psychologist. I got the PhD, and I love the way the mind works and neuroplasticity. I find fascinating, and I should have gone more into the science realm and all that, but I didn't. And I used to think that was a longing, like what would I? And then I realized I would have been. I am. I would have been. Talk about burnt out. I think I would have burnt out a lot more sooner than being able to, practice law and help people in that realm.
Yeah, I like that perspective. And it's interesting. I know what I tell people, Teresa, if I were to do it again, neuroscience and psychology. Wow. Marry those up.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
fascinating.
some quantum physics in there.
Yeah, sprinkle some quantity. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So true. I love it. I love it. So thank you. Those are
Oh,
awesome.
thank you.
Thank you. The questions were very insightful. I just want to conclude with some fun
Sure.
rapid fire ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's not overthink it. Let's just go with the flow, whatever comes to mind. So one word to describe you as a leader, Teresa.
I go back to that word, tenacious.
Nice. Morning person or night owl?
Morning. Always morning.
Coffee, tea, or something else?
I do both.
Oh, nice.
I limit myself to 1 cup of coffee in the morning because I love the smell of coffee. I am just a sensation of coffee. But then I switched to herbal tea throughout the day. I don't drink black tea. I try to reduce caffeine.
Yes, same, or else we don't sleep well.
Yeah.
After 10 hours, we still have 50% of that caffeine in our system. So just be aware of
I
that.
did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah, yeah, very, very, very true. So science is my little science nerd coming on.
So
But
are you
yes.
a coffee or a tea person or both?
Oh, I love like you. First thing, I'm so what I do is I try not to drink my coffee first thing. I'm actually starting my day with some water and chia seed, letting it expand, drinking a little bit of that, then doing my sort of morning walk or whatever it is, and then coming back. And do you know how enjoyable? Then having my coffee. It's so enjoyable because I've worked for it. I've waited. I've been so patient, and it just smells so good. Even just the preparation, like you said, I'm doing the one like that, not from the machine, espresso machine. So I'm in Mexico right now, so it's coming from the actual pot. So I got to make it, and it's just such a beautiful ritual. Yes. So but that's really, maybe I'll have two, but none after 2 o'clock, or else I won't sleep. So,
but it is a beautiful ritual to savor.
It is. Yes. I really look forward to it.
Okay. My other health tip throughout the day is lemon water. Preferably hot lemon water.
Yeah, that's what I'm drinking right now. So in Mexico, it's really hard to find lemons. There's limes are everywhere. Yeah. Or in the part that I'm in right now, Playa del Carmen, the Mayan Riviera. But so I do lime water, which is yummy too. It's really good. Yeah. Okay, mountains or oceans?
Both. So I am extremely blessed to have wandered in both. And my father was a deep appreciator of mountains. My mother liked more open water, so I have both of them in me. And I have a deep respect for both of them, where you can get yourself in a little trouble, which I've at times have had. Either sauntering up high peaks that were a little bit more challenging than I was prepared for, or getting tumbled in the ocean. So I do have, but the water is just a beautiful gift in our world.
It's so true. So true. Would you ever do mountain climbing, or have you tried mountain climbing?
No.
Yeah,
no. I have sons who do various things that are a little bit more extreme than me, but I wouldn't, as far as, cleats and ropes and things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
It's impressive how they do it. I'm just like, wow. So, I shouldn't say that because I'm into kite. I jumped out of a plane twice, and I'd probably do it again. And I did it twice because the first time, Theresa, I was pushed. Like, I didn't, because we were like, how was it jumping out of a plane? And every time I got asked that question, I'm like, I actually didn't jump. I was pushed. I was the first one to get to jump out of the plane. And I think I was taking too long, and my hands were just like stuck on the door, and the tandem jumper just pushed me out. So I was like, okay, I got to do it again because I got to jump out of this plane. So my second time I was like, wait, I will jump. So I took the leap. So that's why I did it twice. But yeah, mountain climbing, that scares me. That just like, that takes real guts.
Yeah, I like the view. Mountain climbing doesn't strike me as taking in the views along the way.
Yeah, exactly. You're not even
more worried about where your footing is and your
exactly.
hands. I have watched that documentary about the not Yellowstone, Yosemite. They call them the monkeys, something that they climb, and then they parachute down on a backpack parachute.
I know. Crazy, right? Like crazy. So crazy. Definitely not me either. Okay, I think I know the answer to this one. Pizza or pasta?
So I'm a huge pizza snob. It's got to be really good pizza, because again, I've been able to have really good pizza in my life. So it would be pasta, because pasta's not as usually consistently decent, whereas pizza, I can taste the difference more between a really good pizza and just upstate New York pizza.
Yes, agree.
So I love them both, though.
Yes. Favorite way to celebrate a win, big or small?
Oh gosh. So I used that word before about embracing being a nomad. I love to travel and adventure. So if I was going to really celebrate something, it would it would be flying above the clouds, which is amazing, and going to some place that maybe I've gone to before or I haven't gone to and exploring it. So that's preferably with family.
Mhm. Beautiful.
Mm.
So if you could master any skill instantly, what would it be?
Water painting.
Nice.
But then I was like, well, I'd also like to master being a strength trainer. I'm toying
Okay.
with that
Those are totally doable. Yeah.
in a little different realms, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Favorite movie you can watch over and over and over again.
So I actually don't like to watch repeat movies.
Okay.
I like to have
Uh-huh.
my curious, like something I haven't seen before.
Okay.
So the repeat movies are more around the holidays. You know, It's a Wonderful
Yeah.
Life or Love Actually. Those ones, I can
Yes.
kind of sit through, but I get bored with
Mm-hmm.
movies I've seen already.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would totally watch the Ted Lasso series again.
Well,
Good.
Ted Lasso, watching it a second. So I rarely ever watched series
Uh-huh.
twice too.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah,
Ted
me too.
Lasso, watched twice with somebody else who had never seen it. So then it's just hysterical to
Yeah.
watch the other person's reaction.
Right.
And now, same thing with Schitt's Creek, which I didn't really like as much the first time. And now watching it with somebody who's never seen it
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah.
very enjoyable.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, how would you define success for yourself today? You can use one word.
Oh, so I'm going to go to Jackie O's definition of what was your greatest accomplishment in life. I hope you don't mind me switching up the question a little bit because to
No.
success is accomplishment in life. She said keeping my sanity. That was her answer.
I love that. Yeah.
So I think
Mhm.
success is keeping your sanity.
Yeah. 'Cause it's so easy. Yes, not to. Mhm, like we mentioned earlier. So, what is
There's more
your,
other ways that we could talk about it from a
yeah.
materialistic or but yeah, once you make statistically over 80,000 in the US, you have a roof over your head, you have food on the table, you're able to live. So success
Mhm.
doesn't have to be this much more
Right.
um, materialistic focus if you look at life in more simplistic terms. And for success for me is um, bringing into each day a sense of gratitude and awe.
Staying curious too. Yeah.
Yeah, the curiosity. Mhm.
So, what is your one message to all high performing women? Well, just tell
One message. Oof.
them.
I um I think you go for it until you don't want to.
Mic drop. So true.
Yeah.
Have the courage to turn to say that I don't want this anymore and do something about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Very, very
To
inspiring.
have that kind of power in yourself to say, I
Yeah.
am going to go for it and believe enough in yourself, yeah. And then life gives you other gifts.
Mhm. You're open to receiving them. Yes. Agreed. So I asked you about your favorite song, right? Well, actually, no, not your favorite song. If your life was a theme song, what would it be?
Ooh. Well, I think you asked me what my favorite song is.
If you had a theme
A
song for your
song for your
life,
life. A song for your life.
what would
It
it
would
be?
be
Yeah.
uh, Louis Armstrong. It's a
Mm,
Wonderful World.
nice.
And I always thought this is where you have to keep educating yourself because I always thought that was post World War II, and it wasn't. That song came out of the civil rights movement to give people hope and all that was going on at that time in the world, in the
Mm-hmm.
US. And my perspective is from living in the US. So
Right, right,
I
right.
learned that recently about that
Mm-hmm.
song. But
Yeah, it's beautiful. His words, his like voice, and like the music, like oh yeah. So it's an instant feel good song.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Theresa. Is there
Oh,
anything
thank
you want to
you.
wrap up with before we go? I feel like if you want to share anything, you can go
I just
ahead.
want to give this is kind of goofy, but anybody now in the future who listens, watches this, I want to give you a round of applause, literally a round of applause. Um, and if I can ever be of service to anybody, to reach out and find me.
Yes, thank you so much
Yeah,
for making
yeah,
the time, sharing your energy, sharing your story, being vulnerable, telling us some things
yeah,
that maybe you haven't mentioned to anyone before. So I really
yeah.
do feel that gratitude as well. And
Mm.
again, thank you for saying yes. Thank you for the amazing conversation
Oh,
before
thank
this,
you.
today. And I am just so, so grateful that our paths have crossed, and it's
Yeah,
no coincidence for sure. I feel very, very blessed that
me too.
I get to speak to amazing women like yourself and
Yeah.
share your story with others who we might inspire or motivate. And yeah, we just never know which
No, you
lives
never
we may
know.
have
A ripple
touched.
effect. That's my intention for this week. To have
Which
a
is how you answered, actually.
ripple
That's how you
effect.
answered my
Yeah.
email, which is amazing. Thank you. I'm so, so happy for
Yeah.
this
And the Women's
conversation.
Presidents Organization is a huge place for women who are high achievers to be around a tribe, their own board of directors, to
Right.
support intellectual challenges. It's a wonderful organization. So that is one thing I would recommend to high achieving women to explore, whether it be the Women's Presidents Organization or something else like that.
Yes.
They're mastermind groups.
Right, right, right. To support
Yeah.
each other.
Yep. Thank you, Rita. Oh my
Thank you,
gosh.
Teresa. Have a beautiful rest of the day.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Okay, giving you a big heart.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you. Stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Uplift Her Leadership Series, a special segment of the Self Care Goddess podcast. If this conversation lit something up in you, please share it with a fellow changemaker, and let's keep building a new model of leadership together. Follow me on ritasavoya.com and stay connected for more conversations that blend well-being, wisdom, and bold feminine leadership. Until next time, breathe mindfully, live intentionally, thrive gracefully, and remember, self-care is your superpower. Ciao for now.